these LA riots, these anti-ICE riots. When I saw those, I looked at this from an activist perspective. Who's funding these riots? Where are they coming from? Now, when you look at Neville Singham's background, he's a billionaire Marxist who was made a billionaire by taking money from the Communist Chinese Party. The money then transferred from the CCP to an organization called the Party for Socialism and Liberation, of which then turned around and organized these anti-ICE riots. But why all of a sudden Mexican flags? In 2024, because of my work and efforts in the previous Congress, I was charged with a task force to investigate some of the most grisly crimes in U.S. history, starting out with the assassination of John F. Kennedy. What I can tell you, and I would say that this model of transparency in the declassification of the JFK records is literally what they should be doing with Jeffrey Epstein. The administration released tens of thousands of documents, and I will say credit due where it's deserved. The CIA director, Radcliffe, was the only CIA director in U.S. history who was able to release something called the Joe Needy's files. What this file proved, and it had been hidden for over 60 years, was without a doubt, and this is not my analysis, this is not my opinion, this is based on evidence that we have backings on. Without a doubt, the CIA engaged in a cover-up of the JFK assassination. The CIA lied to Congress. Joe Needy's, who was a CIA operative, did indeed have contact and was observing Lee Harvey Oswald, who in my opinion was a patsy and cover for multiple shooters in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. If you would have said that last year, a couple years ago, they would have called you conspiracy theorists. Yet every single person in this room knows conspiracy theory is only a matter of time before it's proven correct. See, for most members of Congress, their job is just to vote. But for me, it's far much more than that. It is to weed out the systemic corruption infecting the cancer on this country. And the only way that you can do it, you don't make peace with evil, you don't make peace with corruption, you destroy it. Which brings me to my next thing. These LA riots, these anti-ICE riots. When I saw those, I looked at this from an activist perspective. Who's funding these riots? Where are they coming from? Right? Follow the money trail. Now, credit due where it's deserved, because I don't believe that this woman deserves enough credit, but there are two people that actually helped flush out these connections on the financial ties. The first one is an individual by the name of Data Republican. Her name's Jenica on X. And the other person who I think probably might be here today is Laura Loomer. Now I want to tell you what I learned. And when we were able to discover some of the work of these citizen journalists, we were able to actually send out letters requesting testimony, and I'll get to that in a second, to an individual by the name of Neville Singham. Now, when you look at Neville Singham's background, he's a billionaire Marxist who was made a billionaire by taking money from the Communist Chinese Party. The money then transferred from the CCP to an organization called the Party for Socialism and Liberation, of which then turned around and organized these anti-ICE riots. But why all of a sudden Mexican flags? Do you guys remember the Summer of Love and these mostly peaceful riots? They were BLM flags. In fact, the Democrat Party used a dead black man by the name of George Floyd to fundraise for their 2020 election, and no one wants to talk about that. The main difference between that and then is nothing, just a different flag. And in fact, they're doing the same thing. They're using the guise of targeting people based on race, social, economic class, changing the flags, fundraising off of it, and using it for political talking points. It's not really about immigrants. It's not really about protecting innocent people. It's not about women and children. And as you saw on some of these farm raids that just took place yesterday in California, our own government was able to free multiple children that were being hired to work on these, not even hired, they were being forced to work on these farms. And I think everyone in this room will agree that child labor and exploitation is unacceptable in a free country. Now, what I will say is there's a really good movie. Who's seen the movie Kingdom of Heaven? Okay, if you guys haven't seen that movie, you really need to watch it. It's a great movie. But there's a quote in that movie, and it really resonates with me. It says, "Your soul is yours keeping alone. Even those who presume to play you be kings or men of power, when you stand before God, you cannot say, 'But I was told by others to do thus, for their virtue was not convenient at the time. This will not suffice.' Remember that." It means that every single person here has a choice to do the right thing. It doesn't matter what position you're at, but if you're in a position of power and you choose to not do the right thing, watch out. See, this party is no longer our grandfather's GOP. We've changed, and I think that that's evident. We are the People's Party. We value truth and understand that only through transparency can that be accomplished through trust. We defend the Second Amendment. We understand that children are a blessing, and the backbone of a strong country is the nuclear family. We understand that forever wars only hurt us, and that it is only truly accomplished with peace through strength. We embrace the famous words of one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. It is your responsibility and obligation to stay in the fight, to rise to the occasion and be our next generation of leaders and fighters. Thank you. I'm not the only one that needs you. This country needs you. And I can tell you that based on what I've seen in Washington, D.C., I can promise you I'm not going to be there in the next 20 years. I don't want to. It's corrupt, and we need your help to truly drain the swamp.
Congresswoman Luna, I have a lot of respect for you as a congresswoman because you sponsor legislation that would give child abusers the death penalty. That's a big reason why I respect you. I got a good question. What type of work have you done with the Trump administration to crack down on child abusers, especially right near the southern border, and what more is there to be done?
I'm really glad that you asked this question. So what you're not noticing in the press and the media, any mainstream outlet aside from, I think, Fox News and then, of course, some of the independent networks, is this administration has done an incredibly amazing thing in deporting actual rapists, child exploiters, all of it. In fact, just today was announced that they actually found 10,000 of the over 300,000 missing children under the Biden administration. Now, it's not up to the White House, though, for the policy changes. It actually has to come from Congress. And so I'm going to call out my own party. Why have people not got on board to legislation to increase the mandatory minimums for child rapists and pedophiles in this country? Should it not be the platform of the pro-family party and the GOP to do that? So yes, we absolutely have to get aggressive, but there's been a lot of lethargy, and frankly, people who don't want to take tough votes, but in my opinion, pedophiles deserve the death penalty. There's no rehabilitating a predator.